So when I come into the country, the first thing I do is touch the ground with my feet. Wheresoever you set your foot upon is yours. You take the territory for your taking. And at the end of the day, you realize that these things actually do work. You speak to the land has a voice. There was a time in scripture where the land opened up to swallow people. So the land is living, the land is alive, the land keeps scores. So hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Woo! I'm so excited. So basically, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in part of the world. I'm saying hello. My name is Favor Samson Ajayi. If you're new on here, welcome, FSA for short. So today we're going to be doing something very interesting throughout the whole month of March, and I'm so excited because I really had to think about it, ponder upon it, like what would be useful to the current times and seasons that we're in. And so we're going to be doing a series titled Life in the UK, Life in the UK series, and it's going to span across, I don't want to put a cap on it yet, but ideally it should span across 4 episodes. And obviously today being the first one, I'm so excited because I came with a lot of juices. So obviously if you see me looking down, just know I'm with my laptop, and I just don't want you to miss out on any of the insight I've gotten or garnered from my research. So in terms of today, we'll be talking about what I wish I knew before moving to the UK. So what are those things that you feel like, I wish I knew this before I came. I wish I was able to have garnered this level of knowledge or level of skill before moving along, because these were the challenges faced by a lot of people. We did a survey, carried out a survey with people across diverse international communities, and we're able to garner several insights. I mean, I was blown away by the level and the wealth of resource that I received back in terms of the feed forward for this particular video. So thank you guys for, showing up, for actually letting me in on the highlights of your choice in terms of your experiences. I truly do not take it for granted, and so this is my public thank you to everyone that responded to our surveys and sent us insightful nuggets so we could feed forward this particular video. I am grateful, honored, and yes, I can't wait to share with the whole world what these insights could mean for somebody else actually trying to move. So in terms of survey, we'd reached out and we'd said, imagine trying to advise a younger version of yourself, a counterpart, a friend that is currently in the same situation as you were many years ago when you then decided to move to the UK. And most experiences that we received was from a span of people that have moved from 7 months to 10 years to 6 months to 6 years to 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. So we got an average response from a different level, varied span of how long they've lived in the UK. And so without further ado, we'll go right into the video. But yeah, sit tight, let's get ready, get coffee, get tea, get water, whatever will help you really digest the information. If you're thinking of moving to the UK, come closer. Okay guys, in terms of what I wish I knew before moving to the UK. So you're planning to move to the UK, this is for you. Are you thinking about, what would it look like? What kind of visa should I come on? What route should I use? Is it study route? Is it work route? What sort of theme should I expect? Okay, come closer. Let me save you some surprises. I'm not an expert or any of that kind of stuff in terms of immigration. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not an immigration lawyer in terms of the context of the UK. So, you could still do further research. Like I always say, this is just an invitation for you to go research about things that I'll be sharing, and I then advise you to take that to another level. If possible, verify the facts and all of that. However, these are people experiences, these are key takeaways, their highlights and their lessons. I just want to also put a disclaimer out there as well and tell you that you don't necessarily have to leave your country to come to the UK. There's some remote roles that are spanning across the globe at the moment, where you have different people from different diversity having remote opportunities, and some people work for someone in Netherlands, but they're living in Europe or Nigeria or Ghana or somewhere, South Africa. So it's also the fact that you don't have to move. It's not a prerequisite to live in that sense. But obviously, like I said, if you do want to move, these are nuggets that are going to help you to, curb your expectations, set realistic expectations, as well as help you to have less culture shock. Because culture shock, it is a thing, especially in the UK. Let's get right in. So the first things first, the reality of your finances. So a lot of people that responded to us in terms of the survey, a lot of times what I kept seeing a lot of people talk about finances. One of the culture shock that was, someone said the rent was paid monthly. So, for example, I'm from Nigeria. So back home in Nigeria, a lot of times I believe rent is paid yearly. Sometimes biannually, so you could even pay 2 years rent, 2 year rent, 3 years rent, or lease, depending on what type of property or depending on the conversation of contract or negotiation. But coming to the UK, one of the first shocker for someone was the fact that they had to pay rent every single month. I think what even shocked them the most was the fact that the worth of the rent in a month or a quarter is equivalent to what they would pay a year in Nigeria. But then again, different countries, different level of currencies, level of currency power, and also the real estate market. So there's all factors involved in that. So one of the advice is bring rent, bring your savings. And the person said, don't rely on help. So I'll be saying, like I said, these are not some of my highlights. These are people's highlights. So I believe when they say don't rely on help, it could also mean like, don't put your help in man only, in the sense that, people could default. So people could, I've had situations or seen people whereby they had a plan, clear-cut plan. They had a plan to stay with somebody when they come in, and unfortunately they came to the country and they were not picking up their phone and all of that, and they couldn't reach them. I think it spanned up to like 6-7 months in the country, and now they're like 2-3 years in the country, and they probably only seen the person once. This was the same person that maybe had promised them that they would definitely house them and all of those kind of things. So to be honest, try as much as possible to plan. Like the scripture says, like, who would try to build without counting the cost? So count the cost. I know it's easy. Like, to be honest, it's easier said than done. So you could easily say, yes, I will count the cost. But honestly, count the cost. Like, if possible, try budgeting. If possible, check places like spare room. Check the city you're in. Look for what does the rent look like in that area. Check, do geographical research. Which areas are cheaper? What can I afford in this season? Which city do I need to do what I want to do? I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but count the cost. Secondly, they said you should have at least 3 to 6 months of saving before moving. Okay, so it's possible that this particular person, at the time when they came in, they realized that the level of expectations they just thought like, bang on, you come into the UK, there's money on the trees, you just have all the savings in the world to do all the things you want to do. Obviously, there was culture shock in that regard. So plan 3 to 6 months rent, plan to 3 to 6 months savings, cost of food, there's bills to pay, there's so much, if I'm being honest. I feel like a lot of times people feel like you're over talking about the problem, and you don't want them to come because you don't want them to benefit from what you're benefiting. But the reality is, when they do come, they then realize that, oh my God, it was even harder than I thought. So it's always a good thing to plan. So just imagine your plans for, I'm going to get a job when I get into the UK, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be a billionaire, and which is possible. But the problem is, a lot of times, what if these things do not come into quick realities? What if in the next 3 months you're having to still search for a job? How would you cope? How would you survive? If you then come in with family, how would they survive? So those are the things. So if you have 3 to 6 months, or at least 3 months savings, at least 1 month or 2 months, just have a plan, in the sense that, what if the plan that you're planning is planning to fail? What will be your backup? How would you help yourself? what would that look like? So ask the if question. So if maybe XYZ does not accommodate me, what would I do? Do I have an alternative? Can I get an alternative? What are the backup plans? If XYZ went on rent, how much would I have left? What would I be able to save on? Would I need to bring maybe stocks from Nigeria, South Africa, Algeria, Kenya? Would I need to bring some of my home food stuff to help me for the coming months? Would I need to snack on cereal, on Gary, on, what would I need to do to help me to curb this coming months just before I settle in? So those are things you should consider. Another person said, avoid the mistake of assuming part-time jobs will come instantly. I mean, I've already touched on this. So a lot of times, a lot of people just believe that they come into the UK, bang, there's a job. I mean, to be honest, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, there actually was that level of easier transition. I don't want to say easy, I also want to say easier because it's not as tough as now. You're coming in 2025, trust me, the job market is tight. It does not mean that you're not the exception or the outlier. It just means that these are reality checks and reality facts. So you want to come prepared. So, I mean, we've had a lot of people, I've seen someone come to the country and in less than a month, they got a job. I've seen somebody else come to the country and in less than, it took them 6-7 months to get a first job. And when I mean first job, like a part-time warehouse gig. So it depends, it varies, experience, professionalism, all of these things. But the truth of the matter is, usually before you would even transition into full-time, someone else advised that, don't start applying to full-time first, try maybe part-time, just because they would need a level of experience in the UK before you then start to use your professional skills experience to journey into the full-time market. Also, it could also be a way to save like some stipend of some sort within the currency that you're in to help you float whilst you're also now strategizing for how you enter the full-time market. Whatever it is, just think about the fact that don't be like, how you're planning, maybe your plan in terms of saving is to quickly get a part-time job. So how about beyond the plan of, when I get to the country, I get a part-time job and start working and get money? Think, what if I don't get a job? What if I don't get a job? And this is not to discourage people because, am I saying, oh, don't then come to the country? No, I'm saying plan properly. So what if I don't get a job at XYZ amount of months? If I have to look for a job and it's taking me 3 months, do I have enough to help me sustain in terms of accommodation, bills, feeding, all of those things? So how would I survive if these things were not in place? Great. If I have a plan of some sort that could help me, then okay, how can I quickly get a job in terms of part-time gig quickly? Then you're not able to harness these things. But if you do not count the cost, like I said, you won't be able to even know the gray areas, the blind spots that you need to look into. And that's why I'm here today. Next thing, Survey Insights said 68% of respondents struggled financially within the first 3 months of entering the UK. And this is the reason why I'm not trying to under-emphasize this conversation. And even God says, it is beautiful to plan, but the Lord's plan at the end of the day overrides them all. However, it is important for you to plan. It is good for you to budget. It is good for you to have a physical study of where you're going to. Research is godly. Have you realized that when the people of Israel wanted to take over the land, Joshua sent some people as spies, the 12 spies, and they had to go and spy the land, go and see what they're about to take. So it is biblical for you to research. A lot of times I hear people, I've had a lot of people come to my DM, Favor, I'm coming to the UK, what can I do? How can I do this? Or what do you advise? Where should I stay? Which school do I pick? Research. There's some basic research that you could do. And how do I know that some of them do not research? Because the basic questions is lacking. You don't even know where the city is situated. You could check that on Google, like for free. You don't even need to do any genie magic. Just go on Google, check, do some basic research. YouTube has made life easier. You could literally go check life in this particular school. I'm sure somebody has done a YouTube channel on it already. So like access to information has been made so easy in the 21st century. But then again, like I said, that's why I'm still here to give you extra load of information. Do your research. Don't just go into a territory without knowing what territory is on about. Next steps, culture shock, better adjustment, the things that they had to learn. A lot of people talked about how much there was such a weather adjustment that they had to make. The first one being, the UK is cold and unpredictable. Invest in proper winter clothing early. So this will be tricky because things you wish you knew before you entered the UK. However, let me help you simplify it. This is how it works. When you're in summer, shop winter. When you're in winter, shop summer. That's the easiest way to do it. I've done this for many years now, and I've been here for almost 10 years already. So it's, I've seen this happen severally. So every single time I'm in summer, I then find on sale that beautiful jacket that has gone down the market price just because it's not the weather for it. And so most of the time those are old stocks, and old stocks obviously then crash in terms of prices. And then you buy your favorite fall jacket, you buy those nice jeans, those nice tights that will be good for the winter. And then when you're in winter, just do the opposite. A lot of times the same thing, because summer clothes will not be useful for the weather, and times they would have crashed in sales and it will then be able to buy it. So if you could do that when you've in, that would be good. However, because you're still just about to enter, if possible, invest in thick clothing. Nigeria, in South Africa, I think even in the Gabon, Cameroon, I've seen people talk about the fact that they weave things like this, so like sweaters knitted but like double padded, so you could add fours. Be creative with your warm clothing. You see that big blanket that we used to have back home, those nice red and pinkish blanket that we use in secondary school? If you can bring it, bring it. However, if you can't, there are blankets here to buy. But I'm just trying to think of ways you could save just before you enter the country. So a lot of times I realize that a lot of people undermine what they should bring when coming to the country. Whatever you can bring the bringables. That is obviously legal to travel with, but whatever you can bring that's gonna help or ease your flow into the nation, I would advise you to bring it anyway, because it would save you on costings for the things you would need to buy to settle in. Does that make sense? More so, other things, British politeness doesn't always mean friendliness. I didn't see that one coming. Okay, so I don't even know. Do I share or do I just leave it? Let's leave it. But yes, British politeness does not necessarily mean friendliness. So be discerning. That's a good way to put it. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Be discerning. So don't just at face value, think that you would come into a territory and there wouldn't be forces that would, try to juxtapose what you are here for in terms of who you are, in terms of your identity. Be grounded. And I think there's a part where people talk about the faith and how that is very key, but I'll jump the gun a bit, and I'm truly saying be discerning. Know the territory you're coming into. I would always say before I come into a land, I'd ask Lord, what is the spirit over the land? So when I come into the country, the first thing I do is touch the ground with my feet. Wheresoever you set your foot upon is yours. You take the territory for your taking. And at the end of the day, you realize that these things actually do work. You speak to the land has a voice. There was a time in scripture where the land opened up to swallow people. So the land is living, the land is alive, the land keeps scores. So when you want to come in contact with certain levels of blessings, and you come into a new territory, the first thing is, have you claimed the land? What is for you in the land? And I know you're like, don't go spiritual on us, but I cannot separate the spiritual effect from the realities of what people experience. I've had people that they've come to the country and it's been easy breezy. Like they've come in, they've had a job, they've had settlement, they've had marriages, they've had fruitfulness, they've had productivity levels, they've opened their companies, they're earning highest class cash flows, so I've seen that kind of life. And I'm trying to explain to you that it's also understanding what works in the spiritual realm and how you activate that in your physical. So I'm not gonna even dumb down on that, but the essence of that phrase really is be discerning. Next is, transport is reliable but expensive. Get travel cards. Please get travel cards. Get rail cards as well. Get Oyster if you live in London. What else? Try also, there's also saving points. There was one thing that said that they would do 1/3 of the price of rail cards that you buy on train line. I tried it just to see if it was real, and I think I had to pay maybe £5 less than what I would pay on Trainline. However, the only problem with some of those sites is let the buyer beware, in the sense that I remember having, after purchasing it, they said until I purchased my first ticket on their site before I would get issued my real card. I was thinking, oh my god, I hope I'm not in a scam. I ended up buying my first ticket there, and obviously they did release my real card, thank god, hopefully. So I'll take you a double diligence, try and make sure that, you know, whatever you're trying to do to help save cost in terms of transportation is legit. Yeah, try as much as possible to utilize, like, don't be penny wise pound foolish. A lot of times I see this a lot of times. So what happens is you're thinking that real card, £30 or how much pounds, is too expensive for you to invest on. The only problem is you then maybe have a commute or a job or something that's taking you out of town every now and then, and at the end of the day you're paying the full price amount of that ticket, whereby you could have saved up if you had paid maybe the initial rail card price that is in quote expensive at that time. When you were paying for other tickets, you would have fraction of cost of every ticket going forward, but then you then flip it the other way around. So at the end of the day, you don't want to say right, you think you're saving, but then you're spending much more money. So think wisely. So buying things initially might sound too expensive, but bulk buying will be cheaper at the end of the day. So it's just like bulk buying. When you go to the market, you buy in bulk, so it's more expensive money to spend at one go. However, on the longer run, you think about it, that you would then need less to keep topping up because there's the base to build from. Moving on, because I want to keep it short so that we could have, and this is just the first episode, and I feel like we've said a lot already. Next up, survey insights: 75% of newcomers underestimated the winter condition. So if you're coming in winter, especially September intake, please be warm, stay warm, keep warm, buy scarves, enjoy turtlenecks. Can you see? So it's because of the weather that we're in. You don't want to have a cold, because then if you have a cold and you become sick, there's the GP conversation. Then, or it's that thing where you then cannot even work or have the ability to then do the work that you came to do, or do the school that you came to do because of your health. So you do want to keep warm. You do want to, wear warm clothing and not underestimate the weather here. And they often say the British weather is like a woman. I'm not in the school of thought. However, it does have its interesting variations. 1 minute you think it's cold, but it then becomes colder. The next minute it's snowing. Next minute it's raining. Next minute it's hail. The next minute it's sunny again. Like right now we're in winter, and I remember 2 days or 3 days ago, the sun was so bright. It was so warm, and I was like, wow, warm in March. Interesting. Welcome spring. So it could vary. So I would say just be fluid, like the British weather in terms of adaptability. Next up, and I think we'll do this last cluster and call it a day for this particular episode. So support system is everything. Support system is everything. Support system is everything. I've said that like 3 times because it is everything. Don't try to live life alone in the UK. It's not gonna work, except you're Elijah or John the Baptist. Even that, God did tell him there are still many thousands of rabbits. So please don't try to live life alone. Community is everything. And I do not want to underplay it, because there's strength in community, there's strength in numbers, there's beauty in friendships, there's such diverse people to explore. And trust me, the other person, just like you, is feeling lonely. You want to say hello, you want to hug each other. You also want to be discerning, because there are also people that are out there to ruin you, to make you depressed, to make you not like the idea of friendship anymore, or family. So actually be discerning. Someone said loneliness is real. Actively seek out communities, churches, or support groups. So the truth of the matter is, the UK can be quite lonely, and I mean it very empathetically, because obviously now married, so it's easier because there's someone to always bug around and stress and that sort of thing. I was like, I'm not doing this video today, and it's like, I think you should do it. So there's always that someone there. So I'm enjoying the fact that I get to have my person within the context of marriage. But if you're coming like on your own, and I feel like, I'm not going to get to that conversation about loneliness in marriage, but oh well, moving forward. if you were coming alone, be aware that there is such level of loneliness, and I like the fact that the people that did say this were being vulnerable and realistic as well. And these are people that are like, oh, there was a level of loneliness that they did experience when they came to the UK. So for me, in my experience, I realized that I was a networking buddy. I was a bubble. Like, you can't come around me and not want to have a next conversation with me. So it was easy for me to connect. It was easy for me to disconnect. It was easy for me to discern who is my 3, my 6, my 9, who are the bobo arrow. That means like every other person in the squad. So for me, I'm a community person because I truly like the concept of you cannot do life alone. I don't like single eagles. I like when there are eagles soaring, where the sky is filled with eagles. So that's my concept of life in itself. And I mean, that's why it's the Flavored channel, because there's such level of wealth of God's expression that is big enough to capture all our flavors. And so, to be honest, don't live life alone. Don't try it, because there'll be hard times. Who do you run to? Who do you call when everything goes south? You know, beyond like having a lifeline with God, and that's key because you need God. Someone did say in one of the surveys that they realized that if you don't have friends or you don't have family or anybody in the UK at the time you're coming to the UK, try to find a Bible believing church first, so that way you can integrate into community. When you go to school, be intentional if you're going through the school route. When you go to your workplaces, be intentional to discern who would be a friend or who would be a foe, because there are things like that. Mental health and emotional stability are crucial for adjusting. Your mental health is crucial. Your mental health is crucial. And I think we sometimes downplay it in the African palace because it's not talked about as often as it is here. So a lot of times we realize that due to the loneliness, if it fetters for too long, sometimes it could lead to depression, and that could then start to affect one's mental health and emotional stability. Then you realize that you start having more mood swings. You're not chippier or happier. You're just feeling sad and lonely. You're just victimizing your situation beyond anything else, and you can't see beyond that lens. So I advise that, don't just suck it in. Be free. And that's why you need to really have a relationship with God. If there's anything that will test your relationship with God, it's the United Kingdom. If it's anything that will test your relationship with God, it's the United Kingdom. You need to have a relationship with God. I remember talking to a friend and she was like, do you know that she knows that she's always been a person of the faith, she's grown up in the faith and all of that good stuff. However, the first time that she feels like her faith was being tested and applied was when she came to the UK. She had God more, she had more clarity, she had more direction, because there was no more just a pastor feeding it to you and telling you this, that. She had to work it for herself. Like, God, what are you saying? Okay, what am I hearing in prayer? Okay, how do I discern this? How do I see this? How do I do this? She was literally experiencing the light on my path, light on my feet kind of expression, where God is teaching her, holding her hand side by side, they're walking hand in hand, and she's literally going forward. So have a relationship rooted in God. Find your identity early. Don't wait till you come to the UK. If not, there's so much to feed on that if you don't know who you are, you would be confused at the end of the day, because there's such a thing as a mental health condition. Other things, faith and resilience play a role in navigating transition. Yes. You see, you cannot underplay God, and I just said that, but having faith, understanding your why, because at the end of the day, all things we've said is well and good, but understanding what God has said to you superimposes on everything else. Because I'm a person of faith, and I understand that, faith is substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. And so I understand that there is such a thing as seeing it in the realm of the spirit and bringing it into the physical realm. It is the faith that activates that journey. And so when you're transitioning, you transition with God, because he's the God of all seasons, all time. So he knows every part of your life, every fragment, every fabric. So when you trust in him, you can't be put to shame. He says some trust in chariots, some in horses, some in men, but we would trust in the name of the Lord. So where's your faith on? What are you relying on? Who do you trust? If God is your surety and your certainty, then you cannot be put to shame. But then also know that just like we've also been built in terms of faith is not just for you to just pray and sleep and wake up and just believe that it will come and fall on your laps. Have inquisitive prayer sessions. Have sessions where God can detail blueprints to you. I don't know about you, but when I'm praying, I'm literally having conversations with God, and we're talking about how can this research become better? How can we morph it better? I'm a researcher, so most of my conversations, if I'm coming, like I'm currently working on the book, and I would have times when I'm praying and God would be like, get your journals, start to write, do this, do that, and I'm just going, because there's such a level of conversation where he can trust that I would hear and I would take down notes. I keep saying, why are you going to prayer room if you're not carrying a journal? How are you able to retain all those good stuff? Do you think your brain is as great as remembering everything? You need a pen. You need to write. You need to take down what God is saying. And that's how you actually are able to influence policy, influence your community, influence your nation, influence your city. This is how you make changes in the world. If you look at people in the Bible, documentation was part of the process of stewarding the dictates of God. And so you need to learn to steward it. So it's not just about having faith. What can your faith do? Exercise your faith. It's a muscle that you build. Faith is actually a muscle you build. Exercise it. So build this properly. You trust God that God's gonna make this and this and this. God, how? Show me. Help me. Show me the ancient parts. Those are prayers you pray. Like, help me. You know, Abraham is not just saying, oh God, I believe you, I trust you, and I'm gonna just stay with you. Abraham is saying conversations, and God is saying, I will take you to a land and I will show you the land. Okay, so step out. So faith is also movement. It's literally saying my action goes in the direction of what I believe. My action goes in the direction of what I truly believe. And so where is your action taking you through from the what you believe? So what do you believe? And what is your belief influencing you to do? Those are really the tests you will come through. Amen. In the United Kingdom. What a day. Surveys insights about 80% of respondents who joined the community felt more settled faster, because there is power and movement in community strength. So because you're thinking, I'm looking for a house, somebody in the community already has an agency plug and they have houses. These are best. They'll tell you flats, this area, these places are cheaper. This is band A, band B, band C. They pay less electricity here. It has higher energy ratings here. So avoid this, avoid that. There's all of that kind of conversations in a community. You could go to another community and they're telling you, you're like, I'm looking for a job, and the person saying, oh, I could link you up with my agency. You could easily get on board. One conversation leads to another. You have a job ASAP. You go to another community and you're like looking for you're having issues maybe with your study, if you came through the study route and you don't understand certain things, and someone's like, oh my god, I know this person or this lecturer here or this friend here and she's really good and she has this particular field, do you mind if I connect you so that she could help you explain things and make your journey easier? And bam bam bam, you have what you need on the platter of nothing. Do you see? So community helps with speed, acceleration, helps you grow, helps you move fast. So do not downplay the use of community. So I believe that my final words with you will be sit tight, get ready, because this is just what we receive for under the category of the things I wish I knew when I wanted to move to the UK. So imagine what people are saying now that they're in the UK. How's life going? And I mean, as I said, you should sit tight because the Flavor Life channel is here for you all. But yes, if you did enjoy this video, do like, do share, and do subscribe. Be part of the family because we are back. Other things I'll say, what are your worries? If you have any worries about moving anywhere else, I mean, it doesn't have to be the UK. It could even be Canada. It could be United States. It could be anywhere in the world. Russia. It could be anywhere in the world. But if you do have any cares or worries about what's like moving transitions, share it in the comment. I would like to hear it. And then obviously, if you're also in the UK and just newly came into the UK and you have highlights to share, please feel free, use the comment section. I would definitely love to, go through the comments and feed people back as well, because the more the merrier. People could use several advices. You know which one is for this person or that person. There is so much more strength, like I said, in community. And so there's also strength in you guys also sharing your experiences as well. So if you're moving soon, I would say start planning now and drop your questions before you go. So yeah, use the below comment section, drop your comments, talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's, whatever worries, whatever fears, what you'd like to even see in the next video, things that you feel like you'd like to be clarified. Maybe you're on a research path and you're like, oh, Favor, I want to go through academia route. What do you think I should do? If you want me to do that, let me know as well. I will help you through the journey, hopefully. Yes, but generally I am so excited. This was such a breeze. I enjoyed doing this video because it was such a pain point for several people, and because I was just like, you know what, I've gone to this era where if someone asks me a question and I want to have a video ready for it, so rather than having to spend time writing details of research of what they should do, I could just pinpoint them to this video and it will be helpful for many generations. So yes guys, this is it from me. It's been a pleasure on the Flavored Life channel, and I'll see you in my next video of the Life in the UK series. Bye.